Here's a few news articles. So the Russians have banned VPNs because they do not want people getting uncensored news in Russia, although not much like blocking Telegram. And but now they removed a few VPNs they were supposed to, and then they deleted 100 more that Russia did not ask for. So we wonder what they're thinking of. I guess they're anticipating that maybe Russia won't like those either, and they delete them. But that's a little surprising enthusiasm. I see someone named Min something asking what the Zoom link is. Zoom is not up. I only open it up later in the question and answer period. All right, and this is pretty amazing. This guy is in Texas, I think, runs a hunting lodge. He's a big hunter, and people pay money to go there and hunt sheep. And they want to hunt all these exotic sheep. So he found some Himalayan sheep that is protected and illegal to acquire, and he got people to kill and bring him one of the Himalayan sheep's dead, fragments of it, so he could clone it. And he made cloned sheep. He managed to make a living cloned Himalayan ram, and then impregnate a bunch of other people that are doing the same thing, all of it completely illegal, falsified documents and everything, so now he's in a world of trouble. He ended up with 6 months in jail is all he got, but I think probably large fines. But he really did clone this thing and make incredible efforts to do it, and then falsify the paperwork and everything to hide it, so it's pretty amazing. Anyway, people are nuts. Yeah.
An Italian guy got in trouble, I think, I don't remember if it was Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, because he was catching butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's illegal. He killed the butterfly, got a relative bad, from what I understand.
Oh, a protected butterfly, I guess.
Because he got arrested 6 months in jail, and then to be free, he had to pay 200,000 euros.
Yeah. Well, that's the environmental laws are pretty strict, I guess. Anyway, so this one is pretty amazing. So now at community colleges, many students come with severe inability to read, like inability to speak English or read English, or otherwise very limited, and we're kind of used to that. That is part of the function of a community college, is to teach ESL to people who don't speak English and such. But the elite colleges, the Ivy League schools, have discovered that students can't read books anymore. And it's not just that they're not used to reading books, they cannot read books. In high school, they've abandoned making them read books. So they say they can't read a book. They can't read many pages. They can't remember the details enough to follow the story, because they've never done it, and they haven't learned this skill of reading. I remember when I was like 6 or 7 figuring out how to read, and my dad had all these science fiction books, and I would love to read them, but I'm sure it took time to master that skill. I think I started with little kids' Dick and Jane books and stuff. There is an effort required to read a book. You have to remember the names of the characters and what happened in the previous chapter, and I never thought about it, but I guess I learned that. And if you have only like watched TikTok videos and TV, I guess you don't develop that skill.
Video games too.
What's that? Video games, right. Yeah.
They just do video games, they don't concentrate enough to read.
Apparently so. And so people are arguing about this and what to do about it. I was unaware it had gotten this bad, but I have heard this, that when you tell students to get a textbook, most of them will not get the textbook and not read the textbook. And I don't really know how many of my students don't read the textbook, but I don't really care. My classes are mostly about doing a hands-on project. If you can do that, that's good enough. But it's interesting. The elite college people are getting upset about this, and I guess they should. They'll have to somehow correct that. And they probably need to add like a remedial reading class, which is typically what you do. Now, in the 60s, when I was a child, my father taught at chemistry, and he found out that a large number of the incoming chemistry students could not do arithmetic. They couldn't do addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, so they added a rudimentary arithmetic course to the program, which seems like what you do. If they don't know it, then you have to add it later on. So we'll see. So I was interested to see this. I know Cloudflare. I'm friends with the CEO, and they're a company that provides reverse proxy to protect your traffic, and they add features to your feature. And what they now do is they add quantum proof encryption to your stuff, apparently. So they won an award. They're the first company that provides modern quantum proof encryption to things better than anybody else, which I'm not surprised with. They have very good cryptographers at Cloudflare, and they do very interesting things with cryptography. So this is amazing. Yet another atrocity from Russia. They poisoned a river. They took a river that's a water supply for Ukraine, and they deliberately put in so much toxin that killed all life in the river, which is, not too surprising that Russia would do this. The kind of thing they would do, but it's a new atrocity. I just thought I'd bring this up. This is an old article from 6 years ago, but I was reminded of it recently. This is an important fact. You do not know anyone as stupid as Donald Trump. In order to understand the stuff he says, you have to understand that he is really, really, really stupid. I mean, he says that the immigrants are eating dogs, that Biden doesn't bother to help the people that are hurt by the hurricane. Just makes up new lies every time he talks.
Is he really? I mean, in my opinion, those are planned. I mean, because he makes a lot of test and trial and test.
Well, that's one interpretation is that he has a master plan and this whole deception is all carefully calculated. I tend to prefer this explanation. He really, really is stupid. He actually believes this stuff. But anyway, it is of course the issue of our age to try to understand what his malfunction is. But what's more important is what is the malfunction of the people following him? Because there have always been fascists, but usually nobody will vote for them. The question is, why are half of the Americans supporting this guy? What's wrong with them?
Combine the lack of alternatives. After Clinton, people felt betrayed by the left-wing party. Because they implemented a lot of policies because of this globalization movement. They implemented a lot of policies that were deregulating the market, and so and in the long run, and this happened worldwide.
That's one explanation. Yes, that it was outsourcing.
I think things are more complex than
I've heard that argument, and you know I've toyed with it, but I think it is. I think there's a lot more to it than that because Trump didn't do them any favors. He didn't keep any jobs here or anything. He didn't build the wall, didn't do anything to help them. So I think it's, I'm not sure I have a good answer, but everyone I know has been struggling with it.
It appeals the emotions, no?
Yes, they have some great anger and they're willing to do something stupid to express that great anger. And yet, how can Americans claim that they're so abused? We have pretty good life here. Anyway, it's an interesting puzzle. And it's not just America, of course, it's all over the world, but anyway. So this, I didn't know this, there is something called Windows Sandbox in Windows 11, and apparently it's in Windows 10 too. You can turn it on in settings, and then it gives you another Windows desktop to do risky things in, which is basically a virtual machine. So that's interesting. I didn't know it was true. They explain how to turn it on here. I don't know if it's exactly a full virtual machine or what it is, but that's Windows Sandbox. Sort of interesting idea. So Georgia has passed a rule that they must count the totals in every precinct by hand, and the purpose of this is what the Republicans are being very clear about this. The purpose of this is to create errors so they can claim the election was rigged, so they can ignore the votes and put Trump in, which is the plan. That's what they tried in 2020. And if the installing precinct officers will refuse to certify the vote, so we won't know who won, and if they can successfully convince people that the vote was mishandled and they can't count the ballots, then it will go to the Congress where they have a majority and they can just install Trump. So that's the plan. And so the Democrats are suing to stop this rule. They have doing this in many southern states. They're carefully putting in rules that will make the election messed up so that they can claim the election was unfair. And that's why, anyway, the Democrats are trying to stop it, so we'll see what happens. We should have some real extreme and dramatic stuff happening in the next election here. It's going to be like 2020 all over again, I'm afraid. All right, I'm going to stop this recording.